So the first item on the agenda, apologies for absence. We have had a number of those come through, so we will list those separately when we do the minutes, rather than give you a catalogue of names now. The minutes for 2021, as I say, have been on the website for some time. If I can, I'm going to stop sharing again. I'm going to have to do this a little bit. If I could have a proposer to accept the minutes, receive and approve the minutes of the annual general meeting from 2021, if someone could put up their hand as a proposer. Thank you very much, David. And a seconder is Nick McKeough. So bear with me a second while I make a note. Thank you, and we'll do that. And then if we will move to a vote on accepting those. So I will hand over to Rowena, who will put the vote up to do that, if you could, Rowena. Sorry, that is down to me. Here we go. So I will, right. I think you'll have to do it, Rowena, because my Zoom program isn't letting me doing it. So if you could launch that poll for us. Thank you very much. So if you could vote now, we'll give 30 seconds for all of the votes on these. Last few seconds, and jolly good, that is it. So that is 17 in favour and 3 abstain. Jolly good, thank you very much. I will share the results with it. I can't share the results, so Rowena will have to share the results as well on that. Let's go back to agenda again. So are there any matters arising from the minutes? If anyone has any anything from that, if you could either raise your hand or let me know, or put something into the chat. So nothing so far, so no matters arising. Good. Thank you very much. And I will now hand over to Leanne for the chair's report. So let me get to the right place, and here we go. Over to you, Leanne.
Thank you, Don, and thank you everyone for attending this evening. It's just over a year now since I took over from Peter Murray as chair, and I think it's been a fascinating year for me, primarily as I've got to grips with understanding how the organisation works. And one of the things that I hadn't appreciated when I took on this role with the London Society is how we operate on such a tiny budget and with very minimal support. So Don, who you see on all of these meetings and all of the calls that we do, is instrumental to the organisation as the director, but officially works a couple of days a week. But I know for a fact that he works much more than that. And Rowena Ellams, who also organises everything in terms of all of the events and all of the talks that we do, and manages that sort of nightmarish job of getting all of the speakers in one place, getting them to sign up, and for every speaker that you see, I think you would have to assume that there's probably 20 emails that have gone out, or conversations to get that over the line. So one of the things we've looked at over the year is, and this is an ongoing project for us, is what does the London Society do very well, and what do we do that is replicated by other organisations, and where can we join up and connect with other organisations to get better value? So we've already started that, where we've had conversations with people like Open City, who run a lot of tours, and seeing how we can piggyback together, and those conversations are ongoing. I think in terms of sort of success, the Love London campaign has been an absolutely fantastic success for the London Society. It's enabled us to reach out to so many more members. And if anybody was at the awards program, they would have seen the huge diversity of people and the young people who were involved, and thankfully our sponsors have agreed to sponsor it for another year. So we're going to do love letters to London again. We think that's a great success. There is also, in terms of tours and talks, we're now fully back doing in-person events. This year we've had 15 physical events, and we've had 31 online events. Now again, that's changed as we've had sort of issues, but I think we're generally fully resumed. Membership is steady, and I think social media followers are growing steadily, not as fast as we would like, but we're exploring how to do that. But for those of you who are not aware, social media is sort of the tool of our generation in terms of how we communicate, and it's actually hugely time consuming. And if you're paying an outside agency or an outside person to help you with that, can be very expensive. So we've been working very hard to look at how we make more out of our social media channels, and how we can communicate more effectively with our membership and with other people. The other success, I think, is the APPG. Now, this is called the All-Party Parliamentary Group. Now, I'm not sure if you understand how these work, but if you go online, you can find a register of all sorts of these all-party parliamentary groups that specialise in all sorts of subject matters. Some are light and some are hugely serious. And it's meant to be a forum where people from any party can come along and talk about issues on that particular subject. London's Planning and Built Environment, APPG, is chaired by Rupert Hugh, who's the member for Ealing, and the London Society acts as the secretariat for that. Now, we feel that the APPG is a vital link between our members and parliamentarians who are talking about London. And just at this particular point, again, one of the things that I hadn't realized until I got in the chair is how much we rely on outside support to make these things happen, because we're so thinly administered in terms of hours. And to make this happen, we have two groups who have been fantastic at really getting these events moving along, and that is the NLA, and their managing director, Nick McKeough, is a trustee of the London Society. So we're great beneficiaries of their support, and also a group called Local Dialogue, who help administer the APPG. So we're working on a program to build up closer links between parliamentarians and the London Society, and the discussion around London's planning and built environment. So you'll hear more about that soon. But I think next slide, please, Don.
I think we're going.
Oh, that's it.
Yep.
Okay. So the other thing I I would like to say is one of the issues where we're really looking at is how do we make the events that we run more relevant to the subject matters that you're interested in. And certainly the tours that I've been involved with are hugely popular. But I think these discussion points about bigger issues affecting London are really important for getting the London Society and our membership more engaged. We're aiming over the next year to do at the moment, as we said, we've had 31 online events. What we would like to do is 3 to 4 major talks per year, and the trustees are working on a program to try and make that happen. And that's where, you know, potentially you'd have 100 to 200 people in the audience, and really expanding out our list of speakers beyond specialists in the built environment to a broader range of people. And that's what we've been trying to do to connect with more organizations. So that's sort of me in a nutshell. And now I think we're going over to Barry to talk about the finances. And again, the issues in terms of our budget will become abundantly clear when you see the budgets we're working on.
That's great. Thank you very much. And sorry, I'm cutting across you there, Barry. If there are any questions on anything we're doing, we can raise those either under any other business or on a sort of general conversation at the end. We will have questions on the accounts in a second once Barry's finished, but I shall hand over to Barry now to talk through the last year's finances.
Yes, good evening all. Yes, I'm able to deal with the most boring part of any AGM, I think, is the finances. If anything, our finances are even more boring than most finances. As you can see, in a sense, we have income split down into 3 main areas, and costs, and basically we seem to have improved over the years in managing to increase the net income from what was in 2016 a disastrous loss, and in 2017 an even greater loss, to a profit of over 13,000, nearly 14,000 last year. 2020, of course, was a kind of strange year for everyone. So, in a sense, the fact that we survived that is quite a testimony to the society, its members, and to our administrators. Could I have the next slide, please, Don? Basically, this is what the accounts sort of show, that event income and costs have bounced back from lockdown. I think that's quite a remarkable achievement, actually. Lots of other areas in the economy are having no trouble, but we seem to have managed to bounce back quite dramatically. Also, we've increased the amount of money that the corporate businesses provide us with. Thank you very much. We need that. We need that to drive the business, and also to allow us to do things that we otherwise couldn't do. And memberships income slightly up. Again, I think that's something that we should be proud of, but we have ambitions to do much more. We produced 2 journals in 2021, so that affected the costs. And we have an investment. We have, I think it's a notional value of 105,000K. Now the market value of those investments at the end of 2021 was, as you see, 224,532, which was an increase well, everything went up, didn't it? Unfortunately, I had a look at the mid-market price today, and we're now only, our investments are only worth 202,000. But fear not, our investments provide us with a useful income every year of nearly £6,000. I don't necessarily expect the income to dramatically fall, even if the unit price of our investments does. Love Letters to London has been a real success, and mainly due, I think, to corporate donations, which have allowed us to really do wonders with this competition. And sort of boring thing is that the money we got from the corporate supporters is in 2021 accounts, and the costs will be in this year's account. So there's an imbalance, but it works out in the end. I just want to sort of say how we're doing this year, if only so that you know I haven't been asleep since December. Income to the end of June is slightly higher at 31,600 than at the same time last year, but costs are up. I mean, at 33k. Part of that is due to the money from, or the cost of Letters to London hitting this year. But I mean, generally, I mean, we're sort of level, we're bumping along. We're doing all right, but we hope to be doing much better. I think that's all I need to say.
Great. Well, let me see if there's any questions on the account. If anyone wants to put anything into the chat, or raise your hand if you've got any particular points, and I can allow you to speak. Any, just see if there are any account questions. As mentioned, the those accounts are in the online folder, so you can download them, read them, whatever. If you have any subsequent questions that occur to you, do get in touch with us. No questions on that. So if we can move then to a vote on to receive the Treasurer's report, which we have done, to adopt the accounts for the financial year ending 31st of December. So if we can trigger that, thank you very much, Rowena. Oh, sorry. We need a proposer and a seconder. I will say Leanne will propose and I will second. Apologies. Yes, if we can vote to, sorry, we will need, sorry, Rowena, we will need to rerun that again or open that up again. Apologies for this. Here we go. If you could vote now on receiving the accounts for adopting the accounts for this year. Thank you very much. And a few more seconds for any last stragglers. No, that's great. If you could share the results, Rowena, that would be fantastic. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you for that. And then number 6 on the agenda is to elect an independent examiner of accounts. We have used Stuart, oops, excuse me, where we go, Stuart Edwards for a number of years, and he also helps out on the gift aid that the returns for that, which bring in the gift aid income each year. He was also great help during lockdown, particularly with things like the PAYE and the government contributions to salaries and such like that we had. So that he has been very useful for the society. I think it is anyone on the society to do with finance would commend him to you, but we shall ask for a proposer and a nominee, a proposer and a seconder, please, for appointing Stuart Edwards as the independent examiner of accounts again. So that's again David as a proposer. And if we could have a seconder, we shall have Eric Sorensen. Thank you very much. And thanks, Rowena, if we could go to the vote on that. Good. Any last minute votes? Okay, that is, if we could share that. Thank you very much, Rowena. That is 19 in favour and 1 against. Jolly good. Let us move on then to a report from the Society Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee, which is myself. As you may recall, a couple of years ago, we made a commitment to do a survey of the membership each year and to report back on to the AGM on that each year. We shall also be putting this as part of the notes to the AGM afterwards. In a couple of months before the AGM each year, and with subsequent reminders, we ask a number of questions about the demographics of you as members. Just to re-emphasize, all of this is completely anonymous. It is used for aggregate statistics. We have no way of knowing the answers that anyone has put in to the survey. The reason we do it is that we feel that as a society that hopes to talk for London, we should try and be representative of London. The results from it show that, perhaps unsurprisingly, for a society, we are older, whiter and maler than the general London population. We will continue to try and work towards expanding the representation both within the committee members, speakers, members, attendees of the events that we've got. There have been some changes this year, marginal, I have to say. The age profile, the group that showed the biggest increase was the 45 to 54 year olds. The ones that showed the biggest falls were anyone under 34. Whether this is a consequence of us moving back to in-person events, a fewer student members than we perhaps had 18 months ago, I don't know, but it is something that we will look at. We want to encourage, we're under no illusions that we will be a society full of bright young things, but having more people of working age within the society, I think, would certainly be useful. We also want to encourage greater attendance at events from students and younger people. One of the reasons for having bigger events and perhaps involving sponsors in sponsoring those events, is that we'd be able to bring in attendees for free from student and young people's groups, and this is something that we are working hard to do. The Love Letters campaign, as has been mentioned, was very good in bringing in lots of interest from schools of all ages, and in fact this year's campaign we are splitting the under 18 group into primary schools and secondary schools, because the number of entries was so, both in volume and in quality, was so good in that, and that is something we're hoping to encourage. The male-female balance has changed marginally. Last year, the number of people, it was over 62% male in the survey. It is now just under 60%, so that has changed marginally. Similarly, on ethnicity, there has been a change of a couple of percentage points. Last year, it was just over 95% who were classified as white. This year, as you can see, it is just under 93%. It is a very, very marginal gain. We will hope to improve on that next year, but as I say, we have this commitment to report each year on our demographic profile. Unless we examine it, we will not know how things are changing, and therefore not be able to make progress, we hope, in making the society more representative. Disability, exactly the same as last year, and as is sexual orientation. A slight change. I think it was over 85%, around about 81% last year who class themselves as heterosexual, and it is just under 84% this year. But as I say, the full results of that, we will put them up when we put the minutes onto the website later on. So we now move to the election of officers and some of the honorary positions within the society. The first one of which, and let me just stop sharing again so we can actually bring the poll up, is to re-elect His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester as the president of the society. So if Rowena, you could bring up the poll for that, we shall have a short vote on that. Oh, sorry, I've done it again. If I could have a proposer for this, please, if someone could raise their hand to propose this. Thank you, Mark. And if we could have a seconder, Sally Phillips. Thank you very much, Sally. Sorry, Rowena. So if we could run the poll again to elect the president of the society. Here we go. So a few more seconds for any of you still wanting to make up your minds. And there we go. That is 17 in favour and 3 opposed. Thank you very much indeed. We then move on to electing the officers of the committee. Let me just go through these for you. As in previous years, we're proposing to do this as a slate rather than go through the individual memberships. We've got a number of people standing down this year, and I'll come to those in a second. You may recall that a couple of years ago, we had a change to the constitution, so we're on 2-year terms for people. Leanne Tritton and Alpa Dipani were elected last year, so they don't have to stand for re-election this year. We have 8 of the committee standing for re-election this year. There are 3 new committee members who are seeking election. when we knew we had so many people standing down, we advertised to see who might be prepared to stand as committee members. We were very gratified with the response. So we're a large number of people who expressed an interest in the general principle of becoming a trustee, and 7 or 8, I think, who we then went into a process to select new trustees from. And the 3 new committee members who are standing for election are Yusuf Errol, who is an accountant. He has experience in funding, has worked as a trustee or been a trustee for a school and other bodies. Importantly, I think, for the representation of the committee, he is not a built environment professional. He is more like most of our membership here. He doesn't have a professional role in the built environment, and I think that is something that is very useful indeed, a useful counterbalance to the architects and others that we may have on the committee. We also have Claire Delmar. She's a trustee of other charities and non-profits. She founded a thing called the Listen to Locals blog, which links between community groups and developers. So hopefully allowing us to increase our outreach into community groups and make connections in places that we currently do not have connections. And the third is Kat Hanna, who some of you may have seen on the London Borough election roundup that we had last week. If you haven't seen it, it's currently on the website. You'll be able to see the recording of that. Her background's in sort of politics and policy research, particularly with things like the London Assembly, and the obvious benefits, I think, to the society there are those links with the Assembly, the links with the research bodies and political groups, which will be so sort of useful, I think, going forward for particularly the APPG. So we have these 9 members, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 members. Good job I'm not the treasurer, I can't count, who are standing for election. So let us have a proposer and a seconder. So Mark Priceman proposing, and Joe East as seconder for those for the election slate. And Rowena, if we could kick off the votes for that, that would be fantastic. So last few seconds for you, and that is 22 in favour and 3 abstentions. Thank you very much on that. There is the next vote to elect Barry Coyden again as honorary treasurer. So that's sort of 9A. Barry has been doing the job for 2 years now, and as you saw from the report earlier, has been on top of the accounts for it. This, again, like the terms for committee members, is for a 2-year term. So if I could have a proposer and seconder for Barry to be re-elected as treasurer. Great. David again, and Lucy Smith as a seconder. Super. I will get rid of that. And if Rowena, if you could put that up, and if we could vote now, that would be fantastic. Jolly good. Last chance, and that again is unanimous, 23 in favour and none against. So obviously means Barry still wants to continue, otherwise he would have voted against himself. So thank you for that. And rattling through one of the last slides, just want to say our thanks really to the people who have stood down this year. We have benefited from their counsel over the years, their influence, their connections. Peter, as you know, was chair from the refounding or the reformation of the society 8 or 9 years ago. Michael Coop and Neil Bennett have been on the committee since then as well, helped steer the committee through a period of great change, a period when the very sort of existence of the society was threatened. Daryl has been a vice chair of the society and involved with putting together the planning schools over the last couple of years. Very important member of the committee. Both he and Andrew Reynolds, who is also standing down, have had to stand down because of the pressure of work. They feel they can't devote as much attention to it as they would like. We would hope they will be continue to be involved in the society in some way, and maybe even come back to the committee at a later point. And Helen, after 2 years of extraordinary work in putting together the journal, and I hope everyone received their copy of the journal in recent weeks. A huge amount of work for no pay, entirely voluntary, and has produced a couple of absolutely wonderful publications for it, and deserves a huge amount of thanks and a huge amount of credit for what she's done. So I'd like to thank all 6 of these trustees for the work that they've put in, both at committee and outside of committee over the past few years. We really could not have survived as a society without a considerable amount of hard work that has been put in. So that, I think, brings us on to any other business. So let me just see. Yep, let me stop sharing the screen. We will see if there are any questions, if there are any points, any comments, either raise your hand and we will see about turning your mic on, or put something into the chat, any questions that you might put into the chat. So I shall give you a little time to see whether you are, anyone does have any questions. Can't see anything so far. Gianna wants to raise a question. Okay, here we go. Over to you, Gianna. You'll need to unmute yourself, but you are, if you unmute yourself, you will be able to ask a question. There we go.
So am I talking or I'm
Yes,
waiting?
yep, we can hear you.
Right.
Yep.
How about a 3-year membership at a slightly reduced rate? You keep people longer, you'd be able to plan the finances longer?
We're sometimes asked about that. We haven't really made a sort of decision on it. One of the big issues that the society has is a sort of legacy of a lot of lifetime memberships. People who were given a very sort of extreme discount to be lifetime members 10 or more years ago, and therefore we are still servicing those members. I think there's probably about 120 of them still. We have tried to have quarterly memberships so that it is less of a cost. We haven't increased the cost of membership in the last couple of years, but we can table that for a committee meeting and get sort of committee views on whether 3-year memberships are a good idea, pros and cons of that. We can get some of the get the committee to think about that.
And I think maybe you could slightly increase the cost of the membership as well.
I'm always keen to increase the cost of memberships, but we increased it a couple of years ago. We're not going to increase it this year. We will look for 2023 whether we feel we need to. Some of that will depend very much on the direction we go in. Obviously, with the last couple of years with COVID, we felt that we couldn't increase memberships, and haven't looked at things since, but we may well do for next year. But that I think will be a discussion for the committee towards the end of this year, which way we're going with that. Great. Any more? Anyone else with any points that they'd like to raise? Any other business? I feel someone's got their hand up. I know that's Jana again. That's down. Great. Okay. Well, in that case, at just before 7:15, I'd like to say thank you all again very much for coming. We will put the recording of the AGM online shortly, so you can relive every last moment of the excitement that we've had. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and don't forget to check out the website. That we have got plenty of events coming up in the next few weeks, including on the 14th of July, an in-person debate, a green belt debate, only £5 to members, and it's being held in 22 Bishopsgate, the Beast of Bishopsgate, as I've heard it called, the brand new tower there in the City of London, at the Convene meeting centre there. So I hope to see some of you at that in a couple of weeks' time. That is great. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for everything, and we shall have the votes and the minutes live as soon as we can. And a very good evening to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.